Hi, my name is Bobby Espinel, and this is my MLIS ePortfolio. Just a little bit about me. I'm from Lawton, Oklahoma originally, and then moved to Norman when I started my undergraduate degree. Since I always had an interest in history, I obtained a bachelor's degree in history from OU, and then dove right into grad school as I pursued a master's degree in European history, also from OU, with a major field in German history and minor field in Judaic studies. Initially, I wanted to continue on and pursue a PhD so that I could become a college professor, but towards the end of my MA program, I kind of came to the realization that academia was just not for me. The only other career path that interested me was becoming an archivist, but I had previously learned that one needs a completely different master's degree for that, MLIS, so I dejectedly wrote that idea off as it seemed fairly unattainable. Because of this, I ended up getting a job at one of OU's outreach centers in Norman, known as the Case Initiation Center, where I researched and built child support cases for the state of Oklahoma. Although this job was not directly related to a career in archives or records management, I feel that it still acted as the impetus for wanting to take that next step and pursue a career as an archivist or records manager. For each of the cases that I built, I had to keep an organized digital folder and ensure that it was easy to find should I need to reference it in the future, such as if the district office to which I assigned a case contacted me 3 months after the fact wanting to know additional details about the case. We also had to have our own institutional retention schedule so that we kept records long enough in the event that district offices asked for something, but also not so long that we started to run out of storage. So, looking back at that job, there were actually a lot of similarities to working as a digital archivist or records manager. While working at CIC, a friend who had gotten her BA in library sciences and already worked at a library told me that some of her coworkers were actually in OU's MLIS program and that it was completely online. When I heard this, I realized that I could continue to work full-time and still pursue an MLIS. So the fact that the program is 100% online ended up being quite fortuitous, as not long after that I was accepted into the program and my wife got a job in Wyoming, so we ended up moving here to Cody. Thankfully, the move didn't derail my education at OU. Upon beginning my MLIS program, I was a bit intimidated. I know that some of my peers may have completed their BAs in library sciences or other related academic areas. Therefore, they might have started the MLIS program possessing the skills related to thrive in the various LIS classes required to complete this program, whereas I honestly felt a little out of my depth. Overall, coming to the SLIS from the history department, it was quite a departure in terms of curriculum, so I really had to adapt in order to thrive in my courses. As time went on, my various LIS courses made my transition to the program easier, as I was versed in the numerous skills required to excel in libraries, archives, and museums, or LAM, concepts I was not very well versed in previously. I must admit that my classes concerning the information studies aspect of the MLIS program were more difficult for me. I often found the content of the articles we were required to read a bit daunting. However, I was still able to learn valuable skills, and my final project in these courses forced me out of my comfort zone. Although I may not have liked this at the time, these assignments made me far more knowledgeable about subjects other than archival practices, and I hope that this is made evident by the artifacts that I've provided in this ePortfolio. My time in the program has also helped me to accomplish the 3 personal goals that I set for myself when I first started, which were 1. Gain practical knowledge of archival procedures as well as records management practices. 2. Expand my insight into the modern practices of digital archiving and records management. And 3. Use my previous academic background in history in conjunction with the knowledge that I have learned in my LAS courses to better preserve historical and cultural memory. Specifically, the memos I was required to write in LIS 5473, which was Documents and Records Management, wherein I acted as a records manager for a fictional company, gave me a much better idea of what a records manager might have to do on a regular daily basis. In LIS 5453, which was digital collections, I was able to curate a digital collection for the first time, which acted as my first foray into using Omeka, as well as generating metadata using Dublin Core, both of which I had previously learned about, but had not actually used. Finally, in LIS 5343, Archival Concepts and Traditions, for my final project, I was able to utilize my previous experience as a historian, specifically my minor field in Judaic Studies, to compose a research paper on the social and historical significance of Jewish archives and why it's crucial that they be preserved at all costs. As far as the setup of my ePortfolio goes, I didn't want to utilize too much artistic license and risk having a certain facet of it be considered incomplete, so I tried to compose my ePortfolio according to the checklist that was provided on Canvas. It starts with the home page, which has my introductory video, as you can tell. This is followed up by my self-assessments, including my initial SWOT analysis. Then it transitions to personal statements, which include my statements of personal student learning goals and objectives, professional philosophy, participation in professional organizations and service activities, and potential leadership. Then I list all of my core courses, each one with a link to the individual course. I then do the same for my elective courses. Then I have my statement and goals for continuing education, my advisor check-ins sheet, and my professional resume. I then have my reflection and review, which involves my 3 reflections from 12, 24, and 36 credit hours in the program. Finally, I conclude the ePortfolio with my closing statement. Before I finish, I'd like to thank a couple people who helped me during my program. First, I wanted to thank my advisor, Dr. Susan Burke, for helping me each semester to ensure that I am staying on track and not just taking classes that have absolutely nothing to do with my degree. She was also really helpful in convincing me to add on the Archival Studies and Digital Humanities graduate certificates, which I know will only serve to help my job prospects post-graduation. She was also incredibly helpful when it was time to complete all of the forms that are necessary to graduate. I probably would have been far more lost without her guidance. I also wanted to thank Dr. Catherine Pandora, whom I had as a professor multiple times during my program. And each time I took one of her courses, I would inevitably need to have a Zoom meeting with her regarding my final project. This can prove difficult since I work Monday through Friday until 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, but even still, Dr. Pandora was always willing to meet at 6 or 7 p.m. my time, so well after her office hours, or even on weekends if it ever came to that. So I certainly appreciate her constant willingness to work with both my schedule and the time zone difference. And although it's strange to think that I'm finally done with my MLIS program, I am looking forward to what the future holds, and I thank you for taking the time to review my MLIS ePortfolio.